You don't remember anything bad from your childhood. So why do you feel anxious for no reason? Why do you overthink everything, struggle to trust people, or feel like something is just slightly off, even when your life seems fine on the surface? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Not all trauma is loud or obvious. Some of it is quiet, invisible, and buried so deeply that you don't even recognize it as trauma. But even if your mind forgets, your behavior remembers everything. Most people believe that trauma has to be extreme to matter, something dramatic, something clearly painful, something you can easily point to and say, that's what caused it. But in reality, childhood trauma is often much more subtle than that. It's not always about what happened to you, but what didn't happen. The love you didn't consistently receive, the safety you didn't fully feel, the emotional support that was missing when you needed it the most. As a child, your brain is still learning how the world works, and more importantly, how you fit into it. You don't question your environment because you depend on it. Instead, you adapt to it. If something feels wrong, you don't assume it's the people around you. You assume it's you. You begin to believe that you are too much, or not enough, or somehow flawed in a way you can't fully explain. And over time, that belief doesn't stay a thought. It becomes a pattern. It becomes your inner voice, quietly shaping how you see yourself and how you interact with the world. One of the most common signs is overthinking. You replay conversations in your head, analyze every detail, every word, every tone, trying to figure out if you said something wrong or if something went unnoticed. This doesn't come from nowhere. At some point, being highly aware of small changes in behavior may have helped you feel more in control. Maybe you had to read the room carefully, predict reactions, or avoid making mistakes that could lead to discomfort or conflict. Now, even in situations where there is no real danger, your brain continues to scan for it. It looks for hidden meanings, potential problems, and worst-case scenarios, not because you want it to, but because it learned that this is how you stay safe. Another sign is difficulty with trust. You may crave deep connection, but at the same time feel a strong urge to hold back. You question people's intentions, you expect inconsistency, and you prepare yourself for disappointment, even when there is no clear reason to do so. This often comes from repeated experiences where trust was not stable. It doesn't have to be something extreme. It can be small moments where you felt ignored, misunderstood, or emotionally unsupported. Over time, those moments teach your brain that closeness is unpredictable. And when something feels unpredictable, it also feels unsafe. So instead of fully opening up, you create distance, because distance feels like control. You might also notice that you feel guilty for your own emotions. You apologize for how you feel, minimize your struggles, or tell yourself that you are overreacting, even when your reactions are completely valid. This usually comes from growing up in an environment where your emotions were not acknowledged or accepted. Maybe you were told to calm down, to stop being sensitive, or that your feelings were not a big deal. Over time, you learn to suppress rather than express. You disconnect from your emotional experience because it feels easier than being misunderstood. And eventually, you begin to see your own emotions as a problem instead of a signal. Another pattern is the need for constant reassurance. You look for signs that everything is okay, that people still care about you, that you haven't made a mistake that will push them away. Silence can feel uncomfortable, and uncertainty can quickly turn into anxiety. This often develops in environments where consistency was missing, when reactions, attention, or affection were unpredictable. Your brain learned to constantly check for stability. Now, even in healthy situations, that need for confirmation doesn't disappear. It becomes a habit, a way of trying to prevent something from going wrong before it even happens. You may also struggle to fully relax. Even when nothing is happening, there is a subtle tension in your body, as if you are waiting for something. Your mind may find it difficult to slow down, and calm moments can feel unfamiliar or even uncomfortable. This is often because your nervous system adapted to a state of alertness. If your environment required you to stay aware, to anticipate changes, or to be prepared for emotional shifts, then relaxation didn't feel safe. It felt like letting your guard down. And now, even when you are safe, your body hasn't fully learned that yet. Avoiding conflict is another common sign. You keep your thoughts to yourself, avoid difficult conversations, and agree with others even when you don't fully mean it. Maintaining peace feels more important than expressing your truth. This usually develops when conflict in the past felt overwhelming, unpredictable, or emotionally unsafe. Speaking up may have led to rejection, criticism, or distance. So your brain created a simple solution: avoid conflict, avoid risk. And while that may have protected you before, it can now prevent you from forming honest and balanced relationships. At the core of all of this, there is often a quiet but persistent feeling that something is wrong with you. It's not always loud or obvious, but it's there in the background. A sense that you are not quite enough, not quite right, or somehow different in a way that you can't fully define. Even when things go well, that feeling doesn't completely disappear. Because it wasn't created by logic, it was built through repeated emotional experiences that shaped how you see yourself over time. And here's the part that changes everything. These patterns are not personality traits. They are adaptations. They are responses that your mind developed to help you navigate your environment when you were younger. In other words, your brain did exactly what it was supposed to do. It learned, it adjusted, and it protected you in the best way it could. Which means that these behaviors are not proof that something is wrong with you. They are proof that you adapted to something that once felt unsafe. But what helped you survive in the past may not be serving you anymore. And the goal is not to blame yourself for these patterns or to try to force yourself to suddenly change. The first step is awareness, understanding where these reactions come from and recognizing that they were learned, not inherent. Because once you stop seeing yourself as broken, you begin to see that change is possible. Not instantly, not easily, but gradually. And that shift, from self-blame to self-understanding, is where real transformation begins.